Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Thursday the 17th of November 2016 and we're discussing the implications of a US dollar shortage and its effect on the rest of the world. Part 2. In Part 1, we defined essentially what was meant by a dollar shortage, even though some $3.4 trillion of new money was created between 2008 and 2015. This was outpaced by around 20 to 1 by dollar-denominated debt. In addition, a rising dollar, a repatriation of corporate profits to the US, and an unwillingness by the Fed to issue dollar swap lines could possibly lead to a serious global dollar shortage. In this part, we shall now cover how this situation could pan out, the timings of such an event and its implications for gold and silver prices, as well as other asset classes. So here goes. We wish to begin this segment by addressing a common and much held conspiracy theory which runs like this. Donald Trump was not the candidate who was supposed to win the presidency, and so, as a punishment, the establishment will ruin his reputation by causing global economic collapse. We shall completely dispense with this idea immediately. Since 2008, the world's economy was in financial default. The level of world debt surpassed its GDP, and if it hadn't been recognized before, was certainly recognized since, that the world will never, we repeat, never, be able to repay that debt back in its entirety. So the only way to prevent what we call financial Armageddon is to reduce the costs of interest payments by lowering rates and hopefully stimulating markets. Regardless of what anyone thinks, the Soroses, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the other elite families who control the vast majority of the world's assets cannot measure accurately the reaction to, nor afford the carnage fallout that a total economic collapse would cause. For when people cannot buy food in the shops, and the power lines close down, the banks remain closed, etc., total civil war ensues on a global scale, and even those people privileged enough to have their own resources will not be able to protect themselves. With that in mind, the only solution is to essentially kick the can down the road long enough until an alternative financial system or currency can be introduced without having to go through the collapse first. So we are ruling out any deliberate attempt by the powers in charge to derail the economy. We're not ruling out, however, the possibility of something happening out of the ordinary, our legendary black swan, which could cause the derailment. But you can at least rest comfortably in the knowledge that this is not likely to be done on purpose. So what do we believe could happen over the course of the next few months and few years, black swans accepted? Well, in reaction to President-elect Trump's victory, we have seen the US dollar surge. The dollar index moving from around 97 to over 100. For US exporters, this is bad news. But for importers and Americans touring abroad, it's great news. However, as mentioned in the last video, it is penalizing those who have to repay their debts to the US in dollars, most of whom are emerging market economies. On the 5th of October of this year, we produced a video under the heading Emerging Markets May Prevent Global Economic Collapse in 2017, which frankly was viewed by less than 1,000 of our subscribers and yet was a very important video in relation to the economic success of the US and the rest of the world. This is in jeopardy, depending upon the policies that the new president eventually introduces. if he follows through with protectionist measures such as trade barriers and tariffs and makes it more difficult for other countries to export to the US because he is protecting indigenous industries, which is understandable, then one can expect retaliation to occur. So those countries which are at risk will see their own currencies devalue, especially against the dollar, thereby making it even more costly for them to finance their debt to the US, and defaults may indeed occur, potentially setting off a chain reaction. Any policy that President Trump adopts which makes the dollar more attractive to outside investors will see a flight of overseas investments to the dollar, thereby making it even stronger. Alternatively, if he embarks on a regime of high spending and increased borrowing at home, as some economists believe that he will, we can potentially see the rise in inflation and the need to increase interest rates, which could again have an adverse effect on indigenous industries which are heavily geared. In both of these cases, a higher dollar or higher interest rates is negative for gold. If there is a trade war, that will be negative for silver. Of course, should an economic collapse prove to be the consequence of this, then there will undoubtedly be a flight to the precious metals, as currencies, stock markets, and other investment vehicles will be in free fall. Our view is that Trump will not be as protectionist as he originally claimed, and once he fully understands the repercussions of any decisions he may make, will prove less radical a president as many expect him to be. People who gain senior office when faced with the gravity of the positions they now occupy very seldom adopt extremist measures, especially if one considers that one wrong move could entirely derail the entire financial system. Ultimately, we believe that Trump's presidency will prove favourable for gold and silver owners, if only because the dollar can only sustain an index of around 100 for so long. However, we do suspect that there will be downward pressure on the metals until we see clearly the full extent of the policies he plans to adopt. Meanwhile, our recommendation is do not rule out black swans or errors of policy, but equally do not assume that they are bound to appear or happen any time soon. That road upon which the can is being kicked is a lot longer than many people envisage. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumb up and share it on Twitter. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe as a free member for regular email updates and offers. Our Facebook page, which is updated daily, can be found at facebook.com/illuminatisilver. Disclaimer. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.